My dear friends, there are moments when the body is shaken from its slumber, not by mere restlessness, nor by the trivial disturbances of the world, but by a quiet yet firm summons. The hour is dark, the world lies still, and yet your soul is stirred, as though called by an unseen voice. Many would dismiss it. They would turn upon their pillows and seek again the comfort of sleep. But I urge you pause, for these hours between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. are not ordinary. They are a gift, a sacred interval where the divine calls his children to attention. Waking between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. is often a divine invitation rather than mere coincidence. It is a moment when the veil between the seen and unseen is thin. In these early hours, the world is at its stillest, and the distractions of the day have not yet begun to stir. The noise of human ambition, the clamour of duties, and the weight of responsibilities are momentarily lifted. It is in this silence that the voice of God often becomes clearer, not because he is absent at other times, but because we are finally quiet enough to hear. Throughout Scripture we see that God calls his people in the stillness. Samuel heard the voice of the Lord in the quiet of the night, and it was in the early hours that Christ himself withdrew to pray. There is something sacred about this time. It is as if heaven itself leans in closer, waiting to see who will respond to the gentle nudge. But why this particular time? The night represents mystery, a realm where the unseen dominates. Many fear the darkness, for it conceals, but to those who walk with God, it is not a place of terror but of revelation. He speaks in dreams, in whispers, and in quiet stirrings of the soul. And so, when you awaken in these hours, resist the urge to dismiss it as restlessness. It is a summons to step into communion with the divine. Rise, acknowledge his presence and listen. For in these moments you're being drawn into something greater than yourself, the eternal conversation between the Creator and his creation. In these hours the soul is stirred by the whisper of the Eternal, calling us to prayer, reflection, and deeper communion with God. It is not an accident that you find yourself awake when the world is still and the night is fading into dawn. This is the hour when distractions are few, when the mind is unburdened by the demands of the day, and when the heart is most receptive to the voice of God. We are so entangled in the rush of life that we fail to recognize when he calls. But in the quiet of these early hours, he gently rouses us, not with thunder or command, but with a whisper, a stirring in the depths of our being. Perhaps it comes as a sudden awareness, an unshakable feeling that you must rise, though you know not why. Or perhaps it is a lingering thought, a gentle urging toward prayer, a longing to seek something beyond yourself. This is the sacred moment when God draws near. He does not intrude, he invites. He does not demand, he beckons. And those who heed this call will find themselves in the presence of the divine, where the burdens of the soul are lightened and the worries of the heart are stilled. Do not dismiss this as a trivial occurrence. It is not mere restlessness nor a random interruption. It is a calling, a summons to step beyond the temporal and into the eternal. Those who respond with humility will find that the hour once thought to be an inconvenience becomes a wellspring of wisdom, peace, and strength. For to be awakened by God is not a disturbance, but a privilege. These hours are significant in spiritual warfare. The enemy seeks to distract, but God uses them to awaken his children to divine awareness. The world assumes that waking in the deep of night is mere chance, the workings of an unsettled mind or a restless body. Those who walk with God know that nothing is without purpose. The unseen realm is most active when men are at rest, and it is in these hours that battles are fought, not with swords or earthly might, but in prayer, in surrender, and in the quiet defiance of fear. Throughout history, the forces of darkness have worked under the cover of night, for evil thrives where there is ignorance and blindness. But God, in his wisdom, calls his children to rise when the enemy expects them to sleep. He does not leave his people defenseless, but awakens them to stand, to pray and to resist. To be stirred from slumber in these hours is often an urging to intercede, not only for yourself, but for those whose souls hang in the balance, for those who are weary and lost. The enemy seeks to lull us back into complacency. He whispers that it is nothing, that sleep is more valuable, that prayer can wait until morning. But the one who obeys the call of God will find that these hours are not a burden, but a gift. They are the moments when chains are broken, when fears are silenced, and when the darkness flees before the presence of the Almighty. If you wake in this time, do not waste it. Stand firm, for you have been summoned not to be troubled, but to be victorious. Instead of resisting wakefulness, embrace it. Use this time for scripture reading, silent meditation, or fervent prayer to align yourself with God's will. So often we are quick to see an interruption in sleep as an inconvenience, a disruption to our comfort. But what if, instead of turning back to rest, we turn to God? What if, instead of frustration, we responded with gratitude? There is a reason for the stirring of your soul in these hours, and it is not to burden you, but to draw you into deeper communion with the one who never sleeps. This time is not meant to be filled with idle thoughts or the distractions of the world. It is not an opportunity to reach for your devices, to busy your mind with trivial matters, or to entertain anxieties that the day has not yet brought. No, it is a sacred appointment, a divine invitation to come into the presence of God without hurry, without obligation, simply to be with Him. Open the scriptures and let them speak to you in a way that they often cannot during the noise of the day. Whisper your prayers, not as one making demands, but as a child speaking with their father. Be still and listen, for it is not only in speaking that we commune with God, but in the quiet, in the waiting, in the surrender of our own need for constant motion. Do not see these moments as lost sleep, but as gained wisdom. For the one who answers God in the stillness of the night will find that He answers them in the fullness of the day. He does not wake you to exhaust you. He wakes you to fill you. When we heed this call, we experience clarity, renewal, and direction. These moments refine the soul and prepare us for the day ahead with divine strength. To be awakened in the deep hours of the night is not a random event, but a sacred appointment. Those who respond with obedience will find that something shifts within them, not just in that moment, but in the hours and days to come. The one who kneels before God in secret will walk in wisdom before men in the light of day. The world teaches that rest is found only in sleep, but God offers a deeper rest, one that is not dependent on the body's slumber, but on the soul's surrender. It is not always easy to rise, to choose prayer over comfort, to trade an extra hour of sleep for time spent with God, but those who do will find that they are not weakened by this sacrifice, they are strengthened. They will walk through their day with a peace that cannot be explained, with a wisdom that was not their own, with a strength that does not waver under pressure. Many seek direction in life, but do not make time to hear the voice of the one who guides. They ask for clarity, but fill their waking hours with noise and distraction. Yet God, in His mercy, calls in the stillness. Before the world rushes in, before the demands of the day take hold, He speaks when we are most able to listen. If we rise when He calls, if we meet Him in the quiet, we will not only find Him, we will find ourselves walking in His purpose, renewed, prepared, and unshaken. If you wake in the stillness of the early hours, know that it is no accident. It is not merely restlessness or a passing disturbance. It is an invitation.